The older I get, the more I recognize how much I have to grow. The mentors are the ones who are in the trenches with you saying, "No, you have what it takes." Talking with people about how things could go wrong.
Sure. Yeah.
Right?
Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but I'm not doing anyone a service if that's where I stop.
Well, hey guys, thank you for joining us for another episode of the ADHD Express. I'm your host, Brian Carlson. Today I've got a wonderful guest for you, my dear friend Craig Winder. This guy is as interesting as they come. He's done a bunch of different stuff as he grew up, ended up becoming an attorney, and yet the entrepreneurial bug has kept him doing all kinds of fascinating projects. So tune in. Let's go ahead and check out what Craig's got to say. Okay, there we go. That kicks us off another episode of the ADHD Express. We use a big audio spike, A, to line up our audio, but B, to make our guests relax a little bit.
Sweet.
You guys,
That
I'm
did
Brian
it.
Carlson, your host. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the ADHD Express. I've got a couple of big surprises for you guys. Today, we have almost all of the brothers Osmond, including the adopted brother. We got Joe, Daniel, Mikey, and Jacob. Say hi,
Hello,
everybody.
hello.
What's up?
Joining
Glad to be
us. And then we
back.
have a very special guest, a friend of mine, a business colleague, an advisor. I mean, what else? Like, I guess that's everything, right? Like,
Fellow traveler.
fellow traveler.
Yes.
Yeah, on the journey of life. You guys, Craig Winder joining us. Craig, if you want to say hi and tell us a little bit about
Yeah.
yourself.
Thank you. And I'm so excited to be with you guys. I'm Craig. Um I grew up in a little town in eastern Washington called Moses Lake.
Mhm.
It was a great place to grow up. Um, I've been in Cache Valley for about 13 years now. Wife and I have 5 incredible kids, ranging in ages from 25 to 14. I have 4 daughters and 1 son, and being a dad is absolutely where it's at. There's just nothing that tops it. Nothing that tops being a dad, and not that I'm all that good at it
Well,
sometimes.
right. No, we all
And,
feel that way. I think.
yeah, and we can talk the entire hour just about you know dad guilt,
Right,
right?
yeah.
And dad shame. Um, but it is where it's at for sure. And the older I get, the more I recognize how much I have to grow,
Mm.
and how immature I am still,
Oh man, aren't
and
we all?
how undeveloped I am in certain areas.
Do you ever look and you be like, God, I'm this old and like
Oh man,
still
still haven't
like,
figured some things out. Yeah,
That's what I think all the time to myself. It's like, dude.
yeah,
I'm regularly asking, I need an adult on this.
Yeah, right. Yes. Right.
yeah. So yeah, and it's one of those, and it's almost cliche to say, but the longer you're around, the more you recognize how clueless you are with
Oh,
certain
yeah.
things, and how valuable other people are, from other walks of life.
Dude.
Right?
That's what this podcast is about, Craig.
Yeah.
Everybody I invite on, I don't even know what I'm going to talk about. And I'll be like, oh, yeah, well, how about, blah, 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 blah," and then they're like, oh, yeah,
Right.
that is kind of interesting.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Dude,
Yeah.
that's why we're here.
Yeah, sweet.
That's awesome.
I'm a lawyer by trade, but I like to think of myself as much more than that.
Yeah.
That's just how I pay the bills,
Yep.
among other things. I've got an entrepreneurial streak, as you
Yep.
know.
Yep.
Um,
It's part of why you're here, man, is like
Right.
showing people these different ways. Like you said,
Yeah.
celebrating the different ways that people kind of get through and survive life, man.
Sure.
Like
How's
that's,
that entrepreneurial streak manifest?
Sure. So,
dude, how hasn't it? Like, yeah, go ahead. You can probably
Right.
talk the whole show
Right.
about that, but go ahead.
no, you're good. So, I've done a few different things. When my kids were younger, uh, I had this thought of selling, just being a vendor at Utah State football games.
Okay.
So I bought a kettle corn business,
Didn't know this.
right?
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So I bought a kettle corn business for my kids to earn money,
Mhm.
and we would just go sell at all the Utah State football games and a few other events. And that was mostly, obviously that was for the kids. That was for
Right.
college and other things. But that was fun. You learn even with little businesses like that. You learn some things. Um, let's see. I love real estate. I love all things real estate. I've got some units there, and I've done a few things with real estate. A little bit of development as well. Um, Gosh, what else?
Did you just wake up with the entrepreneurial bug one morning, or has it always just
I
been there?
come from an enterprising family on both sides. Both of my fathers were farmers, right?
That's
Okay.
right. I do remember
And
that. Aren't you kind of one of the first that did the whole kind of like career lawyer thing and
so
not call it career but college and
no, my dad, he went to college. My mom did some post high school work as well. But I would say when I was 11 or 12, my dad stopped farming
okay.
and went into some other businesses. So primarily agricultural, though. I've still got uncles who do farming
Yep.
and up in Eastern Washington,
That's cool.
and so there's that entrepreneurial, enterprising spirit. I mean, farmers, they put everything on the line every year to get that financing for this
Yep.
year's crop. And I tell you, it's a gamble. I
Every
mean,
time.
it's as close to just going to Vegas as I can think of
Oh
in
wow.
terms
Mhm.
That
of
bad.
of
Okay.
risk,
Really?
But they do well most of the time, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I come from a very entrepreneurially minded family, so that's kind of in the blood.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Huh. That's the
That's
way to
awesome.
be, honestly.
yeah,
There's
Yep.
just something about it, right?
sure, sure. And I guess I've obviously balanced that. Like I say, I'm an attorney, and that's a more conservative profession.
Yep.
And I'm grateful for the things that I've learned. In the law, you learn how to analyze things. They say that law school is all about learning how to think critically, right?
Yep.
And learning how to spot issues. So, part of the day, I spend talking with people about how things could go wrong,
Sure. Yeah.
right?
Right. Yeah.
But I'm not doing anyone a service if that's where I stop,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
I also want to share in the excitement and energy of what they're trying to accomplish and help
Absolutely.
them get there.
Absolutely.
So that is one of the more gratifying parts of what I do. And I
Yeah.
like to dip my toe in that myself. So,
Sure.
yeah,
Well, here's something I'll talk about, you guys. This is a little bit of advice for everybody that's in your benefit and
sure,
their benefit.
sure.
So one of the things that Craig's helped me with is an estate plan. So like how many of you guys know you have a family member who's passed away and like it is just a mess. It's an absolute nightmare for the survivors to try to deal with the estate. They can't get into the accounts. They don't know what bills are. There's so many nightmare stories of this, and so many folks don't have that stuff set up. Dude, a simple estate plan is not that complex, and I learned all that from
Oh, yeah.
Craig. And so again, you guys, this and I talk about this all the time. Craig was in my BNI group. In fact, Craig was the founder of our BNI chapter. Like
Oh,
he's the
really?
father of it all.
Okay.
So I've had a bunch of BNI folks on here. I've talked about so as we've like some of our more beginning episodes, we were talking about we try to offer advice for people on things that we have learned
Mm,
that are beneficial. That's why I wanted Brett Bullock on here was that
sure.
accident policy, right?
Yep, yep.
And not that you're on here because of estate planning. That's just something
Yeah,
that I think everybody needs. You need this stuff. Like, what about these people like, oh, someone died in a car crash and now the surviving wife and kids can't access his accounts or don't know what this or that, or there's all sorts of issues that are actually not that hard or that expensive to get just set up.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So that's something I feel like is a big, I don't know if that's not a huge part of your business, but like
Uh,
that's also, I feel like something that, and probably not super rewarding for you, but like knowing that I have it every time I hear a horror story,
yeah,
I'm just like, man, I'm so glad I have that in place.
yeah,
Another, cause I'm at the age now where I'm starting, we got buddies dying of heart attacks and stuff like that, like
right,
people, cancers, what it just, we're at that age. The
right.
older you get, the more people in your circle pass away.
Yep,
And
absolutely.
so I am more exposed to the horror stories of people not having stuff set up.
Yep, yep. Oh, another thing, and I don't know if I would call this entrepreneurial as much
Mhm.
as just doing it for the love, but I'm actually putting an album together.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. So I,
really?
I love
What
singing.
style?
So it's I'm working with a gentleman named Jay Richards. He's
Okay.
a brilliant, brilliant musician, one of my dearest friends, a mentor of mine. And he and I are working on an album of, they're all covers. None of them is an original song,
Mhm.
but covers that just put a different spin on songs that all of you guys know
Okay.
or should,
Yeah,
You
yeah,
should
right,
know.
right.
if you don't. And so that's coming out later this
Dude,
year.
that's awesome. I didn't know.
Okay.
So
Sick.
so
Congratulations.
excited. And will I offer them for sale? Absolutely, I will. And will I do some marketing? Absolutely. But it's mostly just to put something out there,
Yeah.
and if people enjoy it, fantastic. You
Mhm.
know,
Dude, that's awesome.
That's
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm
amazing.
super excited
And
about
that's what it's about. That really
that's
is.
that's one of the bucket list items, I guess you
Yeah.
could say.
That's part of why we're doing this is
Yeah,
just
man.
putting stuff out. Hope
Yeah.
somebody enjoys it and just go for it.
Yep.
I'm writing my book, same thing. It's
Yeah.
just kind of stuff, man.
All
That's
right.
awesome. I'm so happy for you.
No, thank you. Thank you.
That's incredible. You guys, so Craig he's done a bunch of shows. In fact, that we've done a bunch of had skits done at our BNI chapters. Like, oh my
That's
gosh, you guys, like there's been so many fun things.
yes.
Man,
Yeah.
I
We're
feel
laughing
like
because of Gary Hoffman. I should have Gary on here just
Yeah.
because of it. Like it would be a totally interrupted episode, but it would be fabulous.
All of that stuff was Gary's idea.
Yeah.
So
Just a
funny.
guy, just a fun. So this is this business meeting, and this guy would come up with, you do your commercial, and this guy would just come up with the craziest of ideas. And so he had one where I don't even remember, some reason you started singing.
So
And
here's what he proposed. So I'm the lawyer of the group, right? I'm supposed to be the button down, kind of one of the stable ones, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
I
anyway,
can't even
Gary
contain myself. This is so funny.
and
This
Gary's
memory.
this hilarious dude, and so he comes to me and he says, "Okay, so I'm presenting today, and here's what I want to
Mhm.
do." And he says, "So I'm going to talk about how um, I used to take voice lessons, and I'm going to start singing to the group to show my singing skills." And of course, and he's like, "It's going to sound terrible." And then he's like, "I want you to be off in the corner laughing at me, right?"
That
And
nobody, there's 55, 60 people in the room, and then nobody knows
right, right,
this is
right, right,
happening.
right. And he's like, "I want you to laugh at me and just be a total
Just be
jerk,
rude. Yep.
right? Just be totally rude, and then start singing yourself." And he's like, "I just want to see how awkward I can make this situation."
At the
And
beginning.
so we had some brand new members
Oh my gosh.
at
It
BNI.
was a really good time. It had
Yeah.
just swelled
Yeah.
significantly.
So Gary gets up there and does his thing, and he sees me, chortling in the corner and talking to people, and like, "Oh, this guy sucks." And,
It
and he
was
turns to me and he's like, "What, Craig? What's up?" And I was just like, "Well, Gary, it's a joke or something."
Yeah.
I,
and he's saying this,
Seriously,
he's
did you
smiling
seriously?
today. At the time, he's deadpan.
Yeah, yeah,
He
yeah,
is just deadpan,
yeah.
stone cold
Yeah.
eyes. Like it was the
It's like-
most awkward, horrible thing I've ever experienced. And then when we found out that it was a setup, oh my gosh.
Robert Brown, he was like, my skin was
Oh,
crawling,
dude.
and I wanted to run out of the room.
It
was so funny.
It was a slam dunk. It doesn't even begin to and show you how wonderfully this was pulled off and executed.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I enjoy singing and music. Love that stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I love that you put your own twang or your own spin into it because I feel like that is what makes covers unique.
Oh, for sure.
Oh,
Absolutely.
There's
anytime.
one I'm particularly proud of, which came. I mean, Jay helped me birth it with just some incredible orchestration, but the idea that, and I don't have that many ideas musically,
Mhm.
but this one was combining it's a medley between Billy Joel's Lullaby
Okay.
and a song called Baby Mine from Dumbo. I don't know if you guys
Oh.
ever saw Dumbo.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Boy.
it's a lovely, lovely like lullaby medley that I'm
That's
super
awesome.
excited about. Yeah.
Very
That's
cool.
Yeah.
Where are you guys recording this?
Jay has a
Jay
studio.
has a studio. I
Yeah,
forgot all about.
River
Yes,
Valley.
I remember that.
Yeah, he's
I-
got
I
everything.
used to interact with him a little bit more than I do. I don't
Yeah.
interact with a lot of
He's
them.
just
Yeah.
fantastic individual.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool. I built a recording studio once.
You did?
Yeah. Do you know Why Sound on Federal Avenue?
You built Y Sound?
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
No way.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, the stage, the little cutout above the stage.
Nice.
Have you been upstairs in the studio?
Uh-uh.
There's a fully isolated recording studio upstairs.
That is so cool.
So like with rooms inside of a room, they all have a 1-inch airspace with like even the floor had to put down a 1/4-inch layer of like rubber sheeting and then put another layer of subfloor on top of it. The weight we added, I had to double up every floor joist across that building.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
Huh.
pretty cool. You can
Wow.
go upstairs. There's like you go in, you open one door out, and then you open the other door in, and then step in. So it's a
Oh.
room within a room, so there's no vibration.
Oh,
But yeah,
Oh.
nice.
yeah.
That
so I
is
don't
really
know.
cool. I didn't
Kind
know
of
that.
fun and different. Yeah, again, we get into
Right.
things and like I like building stuff.
Mhm. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
at the end of the day, like, I was talking a lot with Jason Nelson, another mutual friend who's
Sure.
been on the show. So I kind of reference him because
Oh, that's
everybody knows
awesome.
him.
Yeah.
But like that dude is really good at fixing a business. Like as much as we all
He
think
is.
we're gonna do
He's
that, like
excellent.
that's a skill,
Yeah.
So everybody has their thing they like to do.
Yep.
I just like to build stuff.
Yeah. Nice.
That's why we're
Yeah.
building a podcast, right?
Hey, that's what it
Which is
is.
a great time to say, if you haven't already, now's the time to subscribe and follow.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely. Link in bio.
Link
So
in bio.
Right.
so did you grow up on a farm then? Or
Yeah. So, yeah, I grew up outside of Moses Lake, in farm country.
okay.
And yeah, we farmed for a while. We had livestock. Uh, we had some registered Angus cattle,
Oh, cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
um,
Okay.
some horses once in a while, and yeah, some chickens once in a while. So yeah, yeah, kind of a
Just country
country
upbringing.
lifestyle. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
that's
Okay.
sure.
cool.
What made you decide to become a lawyer?
Gosh, so I'm a child of the. I guess I'm a Gen X,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And they're from where from my perspective, there were only a handful of professions, opportunities that I was exposed to and that were attractive to me.
Mhm.
And I chose law for a few different reasons. One was I wanted to learn. Practicing law would allow me to learn the rules of the game in terms of business, right? And it's just and it would teach me how to think.
Mm.
It would teach me how to think critically. It would help me with my writing, and it would help me with my analytical skills. And I've actually practiced law uh, longer than I anticipated.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and
So it was just like an achievement for you.
not so much an achievement. I mean, it had its purpose. It
Mhm.
absolutely had its purpose. Um, and yeah, so that's, I don't know if that's a helpful answer,
Yeah.
but I mean, when I was growing up, so much of the uh, work that is available, career options that are available to people, they weren't in existence,
Mhm.
Yeah.
25 years ago.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I mean, you guys have so many more options,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Well, it's funny. So, can I just reference this? This is a really great example, and it's kind of somewhat pertinent. So, there's a red and black Mustang over here. You probably didn't look because
mhm.
you're not a car, but so that was my dad's car.
Okay.
And so we built that car when I was a kid. And when I was a kid, there was no internet. Well, there was kind of an internet. I shouldn't say there was no internet. There was internet, but it wasn't like what we have today. There was no Google. There was no Google. And so that car is a death trap. That car has 500 horsepower and 7-inch disc brakes on the front. You cannot stop that car if your life depends on it. And so we built it as a race car, and it was super fun. It's super
Yeah.
fast. It's hard to control. A lot of stuff like that. But nowadays, so my son, my dad sold it 25 years ago,
Yeah.
22 years ago, and he's passed away. And my son, on his 20th birthday, tracked the guy down that bought it and went and asked him if he could buy it back. And the dude sold it to him.
Sure.
So anyway, so now it's back, right? Now the difference is that my son jumps online and he finds with factory parts from other vehicles, he can convert that thing to have 11-inch disc brakes up front, like all the
Yeah.
rest of our cars do.
Sure.
Mhm.
Like, and it's all just like O'Reilly Auto
Right, right, right,
Parts,
right.
and
Yeah.
so that's the difference. Like you were talking about, we didn't have that as
Right.
kids, so
Right.
there's a huge difference.
Oh,
No
absolutely.
Google.
Find the right person instead of look it up.
Did you
Uh-huh.
hear what the government just said?
What
So basically, you guys familiar with cybersecurity?
little? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, basically you just try to hack them, but try to hack a bunch of people. The government realized that there's not enough people going to school for it. And so they
Oh,
said,
interesting.
you don't need to go to school and you don't have to have a degree. You just have to show us that you can do it. And we have 500,000 positions available.
Oh, wow.
It's
That's
an
crazy.
insanely
Yeah.
different dynamic now. Like,
Right, right, right.
you don't need to learn something.
You just need to do the job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
hungry for the knowledge.
Yeah. And on that point, I think that again with so much that's available to us now. Um, I used to be of the belief that no, you must go to college, right?
Right.
If you're going to make a good living, you must go to college. I don't believe that anymore.
Mm.
Sure.
I think that college. I do believe in learning how to learn,
Sure.
Mhm.
learning how to think. However, you can make that happen. If that means taking some online courses, exposing yourself to some of the classics
Hmm.
in philosophy, literature, like that's important stuff, so that you can be part of the conversation,
Right.
right?
Absolutely.
But there are so many other options besides college to
For
get
sure.
that done now.
Yep.
Mhm.
right? And in terms of making a living, uh, if someone wants to go into one of the professions, it's a school route,
Yes.
Mhm.
right? But otherwise,
Yeah.
you don't have to do that. You
No,
have
there's so
so
many
much
people
available
get a
to you.
degree and don't
Right.
do
Use it.
anything with it.
Right. Exactly.
Right. I mean, like, well,
Exactly.
Brett Bullock was on here the other day.
Sure.
He got a degree and he's like, I don't need my degree for what I do.
Right.
He's like, you don't need a degree to be an insurance broker. There's a
Right.
lot of them.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
So
I was thinking about going on getting my gender studies.
there
There you go.
you go.
Whatever. And that's the thing is, I really do think it's extremely valuable to be able to reference a broad spectrum of knowledge
Mhm.
out there so that when you hear someone talking about having a conversation and they're referencing you know um, referencing something from the classics, what they're talking about,
Right.
Mhm.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
um,
No, for sure.
I still think that there's value there because I think sometimes we exclude ourselves from the conversation because we
Don't have a
did get the
clue.
reference,
Mhm.
or we don't understand, we don't have that. We need to have like a common, like, foundation,
Mhm.
Sure.
at least common enough so that we can
Yep.
get one another,
Mhm.
Yeah.
right?
I agree.
A nice platform in order for us to all stand
Yes.
on.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it comes to college, I never got a degree or anything, but I did go in and get ASE certifications,
Perfect. Yeah.
and it's great
Yeah.
because any diesel mechanic nowadays, anywhere that you go, you can make upwards of
Oh yeah.
$35 to $40 an hour
Yep.
Yep.
just because you got that
Hmm.
certification. That wasn't even no degree.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, and it's
Absolutely.
crazy because the world is open. Like
Yep.
you're 100% right when you said that there's way more jobs and way more possibilities for us. And I think that the most overlooked possibility is entrepreneurship. Granted, it might
Yep.
just be an ADD thing. Do you have ADHD?
So I've never been like formally diagnosed, but I check an awful lot of boxes.
That was a good one.
Fair enough.
I feel
So-
that. I feel that.
So
We can relate to those emotions.
yeah, and
Unfortunately.
that's another thing that I would say runs in the family. And I guess one thing that I'm learning is that there's a good side to
Mhm.
this, right?
Sure.
In fact, I just read a book um, called Rocket Fuel.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I've got that book. Yeah, that's a great one. Don't you love the?
Fantastic
It is a
book
good book. Yeah.
because
We
you
were.
know,
I'm supposed to get you that book, and I'm sorry.
I got the audiobook copy and
Okay.
started
Cool. Cool.
listening to it.
So we were just talking
It-
about that, but go ahead.
Yeah.
right, it gives you permission to go ahead and feel okay about being a visionary
Mhm.
instead of feeling like your life's work is to become an integrator.
Right. It's
You're not an
No.
integrator,
No.
right?
And the best in. Oh, go. No, you
No,
finish.
no, no,
it.
you're good. And just to recognize, oh, there's nothing wrong with me.
No.
This is just who I
It's just who
am,
we are.
and I need help,
Right.
right? And I'm not going to do that in the form of, becoming the person that I'm not. I'm going to bring on someone
Yep.
to help me
Correct.
integrate, and I'm going to stay where my skill set is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So excellent book.
It's
Yeah.
so good.
So my favorite story out of that book, and I think it's the right story. That's the one where they talk about Walt and Ron, Disney, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
that was
Yeah.
where, and then so that book is what turned me on to why I went and read Ron's autobiography, or excuse me, not Ron's, Walt Disney. So for those of you guys, so we haven't aired the episode yet where we had Jonathan Johnson. He's a personality code expert, and so that's where I got a
Okay.
lot of that kind of
Okay.
stuff, and so the integrator, all that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yep. Yep.
And so I actually have the exact same personality code as Walt Disney. So he's an ENTP. I'm an ENTP. We are the system architect. We're basically the big ideas guy. We
An
come up with.
ENFP.
Oh, are you really? Oh,
Yep.
very cool.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, actually, I have this.
An ENFP. Nice.
ENFP. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to write your name on this, but here, just for fun, check
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
out. So anyway, so everybody knows who Walt Disney is. If you don't, then you've either grown up in a third world country or something. But everybody knows who Walt Disney is. Nobody knows who Ron Disney is.
Right.
Nobody heard of them. But if it wasn't for Ron Disney, there would be no Disney.
That is exactly
So
right.
Walt Disney is the big ideas guy, but he can barely tie his shoes. Like, he's ADDs and no, it's not that. Oh, no. Oh, right. He's all over the place. So big brother Ron steps in and does okay, hey, that's a really great idea. I'm going to do that for you. Oh, That's another great idea. So Ron realized the best thing he could do was keep Walt free in finance so the Walt can just create,
Right.
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Right.
And so that's and that's part of where this podcast comes in, is that we're trying to get me out of the crawl space in the attic. Like, I'm an expert when it comes to real estate, you guys. Like, there's not much I don't know and haven't dabbled with. And so there's no area in the real estate world that I can't speak with authority. And yet I'm just kind of bored,
Yeah.
and like,
So you're an ENTP.
I'm an ENTP.
Okay. So yeah, I'm ENFP. Have you done the it is called the Enneagram?
Oh,
not.
the 5?
I think it's 9.
Is it the 9? Oh,
Yeah, the
yeah.
Enneagram.
It has like the
Yeah,
graphs.
do the Enneagram.
Okay, you have to send
Yeah. That one is I mean, that one
I'm sorry, what you said, you're an ENFP.
ENFP.
Yeah, okay. Oh, same as my son. Cool.
Yeah.
Robin Williams and Willy Wonka were ENFPs.
Wow. Okay.
you see
There's
that on
got to
there,
be other
like-
ENFPs besides Willy Wonka. and-
Robin Williams, yeah. My sister-in-law is one. My son Carter is an ENFP, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I can never remember the letters. I just know that I'm the
Early visionary, yeah.
I'm a
Nice, advocating. That's awesome.
Yeah.
campaigner.
Okay, sure. That's campaigner. That would be something like an ENFP,
I'm written on there somewhere.
like an advocate,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
That's cool.
so yeah, that's something that, one of the things I'm learning is it's okay to be me,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
and my skill set. I have a skill set,
Mm-hmm.
right? And in order to be at my most effective, I need help with um, ordering things. That's not, it takes so much energy for me to order things, and I can go to the details with some things as long as I also recognize if I'm in the weeds on something, the rest of the world is invisible to me,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right? I can go up to 30,000 feet. I can go down in the weeds, but the transition between the two, I lose stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
um, yeah, and I know that there are different kinds of ADHD,
Absolutely.
right? And I was never the hyperactive kid.
Right. Sure.
That's me.
That was never me.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yep, and me
that
too.
that wasn't me. It's either hyper
Inattentive.
focus.
Or inattentive, right?
Inattentive.
Yeah, it like I did good in school, right? Because I was able to focus on one thing at a time,
Mm.
right? Adulting requires me to do more, to juggle things,
Mhm.
and I'm just learning that that takes more energy from me than it would other people.
Yeah.
Some people love to do the organizing, the executing, the in the that's not
Right. It takes all different types.
right.
That's what we've been learning. That, again, all of this stuff is part of that.
Yeah,
That's
for
what
sure.
you got to learn, how you fit into the world, and then learn to surround yourself with the people that complement you.
Yep.
And when you have these areas where you're struggling, that's what's cool about, like, I paid a lot of money to learn that. I mean, I paid a very expensive scaling coach for like 9 months,
Sure.
thousands and thousands of dollars to teach me all those
Mhm,
things.
mhm.
And it was really beneficial. And I read 30 books.
Yeah. Right.
And like learned all this stuff, and it's been huge. It's helped me just be fine with me, because like the way that I can multitask and keep 47 things going at one time, like, it stresses my wife out. I'll be like, oh yeah, I got to do this real quick, and she's like, what? She's like, I didn't even know you were doing that. Like last
Right.
night I'm doing home inspection reports, I'm editing videos, I'm uploading videos, and then I'm like, oh, I got a phone call, I got an interview, an editor right now. My wife is like, what?
Yeah. It's this, and it comes in waves, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's this explosion of activity,
Yep.
and then silence,
Dormant.
Yeah.
and just calm.
Yeah, and I don't
Right,
like
and then it's
calm
just
and silence.
yeah.
I just want nonstop explosions.
For me, it's a rhythmic thing,
Yeah.
right? Like I enjoy the times of like mass, creation and juggling, but I also need to have times where I am shut down.
Yeah.
I can just totally shut down.
There's
So-
something that we listened to a podcast. Do you know Alex Hermosi?
I haven't heard of Alex.
He's a good one.
He's a good one. I've been enjoying it, and he has a
Yeah.
thing. Like he realized, because he has ADHD too, and he realized that he needed to set up his schedules a little bit different than everybody else, because he was constantly doing the work and just grinding, and it was just not sustainable. And so then he created these things called maker's blocks.
Okay.
And these maker's blocks were basically entire 3 to 4 hour periods where nobody talks to you, nobody calls you, you just sit and create because it
Mhm.
takes time to absorb information and
Yep.
learn, and then that made it so that it facilitated his creativity.
I like that. That's cool.
And then his entire staff and team knew, okay, you don't talk to him during these times.
Mhm.
Like you schedule the call for his midday break or for the next day when it's a meeting day. I've just loved that
Yeah, I
idea.
like that.
And it's
It's been really helpful. They mentioned that to me, and then again in one of our
Sure.
podcasts, and then I started kind of looking into it. Same thing. I was like, hey, that actually is pretty cool. And so it's helped me. Like, if you haven't ever written a book, it's not if you're not a writer, like it sucks. It's
Mhm.
hard. It's really, and especially when you're like I'm writing my personal story, and I'm at the point now when I'm getting raided by a SWAT team, and it's not really that pleasant. And so, but like,
It's a nice
so
helpful
like,
Is that putting you back there?
kind of
Right?
put me a little bit back a little bit, you know. But so, anyways, but I only write 3 days a week. So at
Okay.
first, I was like, I was started the book and I was writing every morning for an hour or two,
Yeah.
and then I got 5,000 6,000 words and was burned out.
Yeah.
And then I didn't write for 2 months,
Mhm.
and so then now once I was like, okay, so now I'm back just to 3 days a week.
Yeah.
I have my blocks written out, and it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday when I'm not podcasting, and those are the days that I write,
Oh, that's awesome.
and it works.
Good for you.
It's been working. So now I have 10,000 words in the book.
Hey.
Hey, let's
So-
go.
So it's getting there, man. It's like I said, this is not a pleasant tart. So I start writing until I get depressed and then I leave.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I used to have $700,000 in the bank.
Dang SWAT.
Yep, I know. No, it was the Attorney General's office.
Even
SWAT are just the
worse.
tools. They don't even half of those dudes. The fact because it's really funny as I was writing and remembering this. So one of the dudes took off to go get coffee. We were cleaning out the West Haven warehouse because we knew that Utah was changing the law. So we're just like, cool, we'll just clean up the shop, repaint everything, turn it over to the landlord, and we already had another warehouse in Vegas fully operational. So we were just moving the operation. And so one guy takes off to go get him a cup of coffee or whatever. And like an hour goes by and he does not come back. So, and apparently he takes off. They nailed him. He's in the back of a police car.
Oh god.
And so then we're like, well, we had another warehouse around the corner that we just parked out. Like when we would
Yeah.
go to Vegas, we'd park all of our trucks there and then jump in one vehicle and go to or ride our motorcycle or whatever. Actually, I think at that time our motorcycles were just out there. But anyway, so okay, well, I'm like, well, let's go get my truck. We'll go see if he broke, if something happened or whatever. So we bail out of the building. Well, it threw them because they weren't quite ready. And so it totally threw him for a loop. And we just, go walking down in between these buildings just to go to this other, it's a commercial
Right.
facility. Like it's all like alleys and warehouses.
yeah.
And so like, it was really funny. And then this truck pulls up and the guys jump out with the guns and all the rest is in the book. You'll get it soon enough. But like, it was just, all that experience, man, was
Yeah.
like just very different time of life, different world.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's hard writing about that, you guys.
Yeah.
Sure.
Going back and
Absolutely.
reliving it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the stress, the anger, like talking about, I mean, I had cops watching I'm watching my house for a year for all of that, So,
Oh man.
yeah,
It's gonna be an awesome book though.
it is. Well, and it's funny, like, do you guys remember? No, you weren't the pre, it was uh, Tyson Luthi. Tyson Luthi was the president of BNI. I had to miss BNI to go to jail, you guys. Do you remember that?
Oh, I was president. Tyson was VP.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, it was you two. I had to tell you guys.
Yeah.
Because they're asking you, have you ever been convicted of a felon? You're like, well, not yet.
Currently in the process.
Give it a year or so, and when they figure it out,
Yeah.
and they still accepted me.
Oh, I remember that. No, that was an easy call, to be honest.
I appreciate that, man, very
Absolutely.
much.
I mean, the energy that Brian, and you guys know this, but the energy that Brian brings into the room and the genuine love that he has for people, it just it changes the dynamic of a group, of a large group. And he very quickly became one of the favorites and one of the most trusted people in our group.
I've done business with everybody in that room.
Yep.
Every single person in there. So, in fact, that's why, and it shows why they're all like still they're all willing to come
Yeah,
on
man.
and give me their time and hang out and.
A good group.
Yeah, it's a great group. It's a little bit sad to not be going anymore.
Sure.
But and again, honestly, my goal is as this gets better, I will just join again and be there as and then I'm going to use that to go visit all the other chapters and just harvest people in.
You're focused on the contribution that you want to make.
Yeah.
Right now, that requires you to be some.
Yep.
Yeah, we're all rooting for you.
I appreciate
Mhm.
that, man.
Yeah, you bet.
I think and as I was talking to the editor last night that I interviewed, everywhere I'm turning, I'm just getting warm response. Like I literally was there to get my media pass at that car show, and this dude comes shambling in. Just I had no idea who he was. You know what I'm saying? Like when you would have
Yeah.
looked at him. I mean, I don't. Maybe I don't know. I just didn't figure that he was like the guy. You know, everybody there knows him. Every professional racer knew him on a first name basis. And I just started chit chatting with him and made it, you know how I am. I just like I'd never met a stranger, as I always like to say.
Yeah.
And so he was just like, yeah, dude. He's like, why don't you just hang out with me while you're here? Because I told him, he was like, oh, you're media. Who are you? And I just said, hey man, listen, I am totally brand new. I know. I said, I literally got this camera like 3 months ago. I got all this stuff. We started this business. And I have no idea what I'm doing. And I think that humility, he was just like, cool, I'm with you. And like, I'm filming these cars and he'd be like, and he's this big, huge dude. And he's got his lens on his camera is probably 15 grand.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like his
I know
camera's
those
probably
lenses.
7. So like, here I am using my $2,000 setup. So like, and anyways, but we're filming and he reaches over and like adjusts stuff on my camera while I'm filming. It was so funny. He's like, here,
great.
you want it like this? Oh, thanks, man.
That's
Well, and
cool.
that we can riff on that concept for a bit, which is mentorship,
Oh yeah.
Right.
right?
Right.
Um, I I have always had incredible mentors.
That's awesome.
Jay Richards, the gentleman that
Mhm.
is helping me record this, he's more than you know an acquaintance for me. Jay is Jay is a true mentor, and we talk about everything.
Sure.
And I found that if you have a mentor who's like around 15 years older than you, that's a good age
It
gap,
is.
right?
Mhm.
Because they're not so far ahead of you that they don't remember,
Mhm.
what things were like at your age,
Mhm.
but they're far enough ahead of you to know that, here's what's coming,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Um, so I've always had some great mentors, and they always end up being around, you know, about 15 years older.
Hmm.
Um, and you know, mentorship is all about helping us learn kind of the cycle of failure and success, and they help us normalize it,
Mhm.
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Chances are, if you have a mentor who's older than you, it means that they have failed more than you have,
Mhm.
but it
Yeah.
also means they're probably successful too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And mentorship is all about helping us see, okay, failure is part of it, it is absolutely necessary for success. And when you have failed, especially if it's something that is a real passion for you, something that's really important to
Mhm.
you, and when you find yourself just having royally screwed up,
Mhm.
Yeah.
right? The mentor is the person who comes and sits next to you and says, this is not the end.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And in fact, not only is this not the end, this is absolutely necessary for your growth and development.
Yeah.
And they'll listen to you, they'll listen to you cry, they'll listen to you
Mhm.
complain, they'll be empathetic, and then they will encourage you to get back on the horse,
Yep.
right?
Oh.
That's what mentorship is. We all need mentors, and we all need to be open to the idea that we could be mentoring
Yep.
other people.
Absolutely.
I love that because every story that you can think of out there, right? There's a mentor. That's why it's an archetype, right? You have Obi-Wan Kenobi. You have
Sure. Yeah,
uh
absolutely.
you have Gandalf. You have
Hagrid.
Hagrid.
Yoda.
That's right.
And like one of the craziest ones to me was actually in The Lion King. In The Lion
Sure.
King, it's Rafiki,
Rafiki, I love that
right?
character.
Rafiki is a freaking awesome character. And for me, I think that mentors in the best possible way are they're calling you to your highest possible good.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah.
And in that story, I think it's the most blatant because like he's there when he's born, right? But
Yeah.
also when he becomes a man and he finds out that hey, he's still alive, he immediately runs to his side or runs as fast as he can to say, "Hey, what are you doing? Go be king." And then when his confidence is lost, he takes him on a journey through the jungle and then does it. But like he has an entire amazing story arc of being a mentor. Do you know what Rafiki means? It means friend.
Oh, really?
It translates to friend.
Hmm.
So what is Rafiki? He's a friend.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
I think that was
That's cool.
just
I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
amazing.
And we talk about heroes. We always talk about,
Sure.
who's your hero? And heroes I think are important.
Mhm.
That's not a mentor.
No.
A hero
Yeah.
is someone who's, out there who is maybe modeling something that you want to experience, right? Like when I was a kid, I loved basketball. So who
Mhm.
was my hero? Michael Jordan,
Yeah.
right?
Yay.
Um, but Michael Jordan isn't a mentor, especially now that I don't play basketball
Right,
anymore.
right.
Right. But the mentors are the ones who are in the trenches with you saying, no, you have what it takes.
Mhm.
Just because you have failed doesn't mean that you don't.
Yep.
And this is actually part of the cycle,
It is. You got to
right?
learn.
That's what a mentor is.
Yep.
It's absolutely, we need more mentors. We absolutely need, and
Across
we
the
need to
board.
look to get our own crap together so that we can be.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There was another thing. There's a video that I keep seeing across the internet, and it's this guy, and he's sitting there, and he's like, "The best thing that I can do for you is improve me."
Oh yeah, Jim Rowan.
Jim Rowan.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
He puts it in a much more delicate and like way more elegant way, not delicate.
Yeah.
But it's like the point is the point of it is how in the world do you bring value to somebody else if you are decreasing your value at the same time?
Yeah.
The best value you can bring is bring yourself up and then help others rise with you.
Right. It's true.
That resonates for sure. Yeah.
Very much so.
I absolutely love it. All right, I have a question for you.
Yes.
What is your like? Do you have any? You said you have inattentive ADHD, and being a lawyer, I could imagine that.
Yeah.
Make
It's
some-
a little bit of
He's
a-
learned how to hyper focus. That's what he said. Is he's able to hyper focus.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say that I'm inattentive. It's more executive function. It's more when I have things coming at me, being able to quickly prioritize
Okay.
and
So almost
Do you have
more
a
of an
process?
autism spectrum than the ADHD spectrum. Because
sure.
yeah, because the ADHD is technically on the spectrum of autism. They're saying that's
I
what they're
I
all
didn't know
saying
that.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
right, they call it diet autism that you treat by microdosing amphetamines.
Okay. Okay.
That's
So
what it
yeah,
is.
Yeah.
so that's that, and so there, but so it's still all a spectrum, and so the executive dysfunction is what it is. It's
Okay.
like like some of us have too many things coming in and can't deal with it,
Right.
or some of us have even like I think us that are the hyperactive have even more stuff coming in,
Sure.
and we are capable to deal with some of it, but it's just overwhelming at how fast it's coming in.
Yeah. It's like if I'm in control of it, I can do lots of different things at
Okay.
once, like you're talking about. If it's things that uh, come at me, that's where I sometimes tend to freeze.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And what I knowing this about myself, what I end up doing is just okay, recognizing the pile is just growing,
Mm,
and I'm pretending it's not there. So
Mhm.
what I need to do is just
yeah.
experience a little bit of discomfort and write things down, prioritize, and then I'm back.
Yeah.
Right.
Organize the
But,
doom pile.
Yeah.
You might not be
That's
familiar
right.
with the doom pile.
I'm not familiar with the
It's
doom pile.
Didn't organize, only moved. It's the death. It's the death of an ADD person, right? We have a song we like to try to encourage ADD people to sing in their heads.
Yeah.
Don't put it down, put it away.
Yeah.
Don't put it down, put it away.
And I also like I like seeing everything that's in my world,
Mhm.
because if I don't see it, I forget that it exists.
Yep,
Yeah.
agreed.
Right.
Oh
Right?
yes.
So I'll go buy clothes, and unless I put them on a hanger and put them, like, I forget that I bought them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right. Uh,
Object permanence.
what is it called?
Object permanence.
Okay.
If it's not
Good
there
point.
or if it's not visual
Uh-huh.
and it's put away somewhere, you
Sure.
forget it's there.
Yeah, that's
and
me.
It's gone.
Yeah, I do that.
I
It
struggle
sounds
with
so
it.
Yeah,
stupid,
I know,
doesn't
huh?
it? But it's
And
the
now you
truth.
see why my song is so important.
Don't
Don't put it down, put it
put it away. Okay. Yeah, I like that.
Also, one of my favorite hacks that I saw with it is don't put your fruits and vegetables in the bottom drawers. Put your condiments in there because if you need a condiment, you're going to find a condiment.
Right.
You put your fruits and vegetables in the door because it's the first thing you see.
I like that.
Oh.
I like
I
that.
really-
Fewer rotting fruits
I
and
really
vegetables
like
in
my
the
fruits and veggies, so I don't have that issue. I'm sorry.
That's
I know
valid.
that seems weird, but I really enjoy fruits and veggies. So
Yeah. Yeah.
like really. So yeah. I guess that's all I eat though. I eat meat and vegetables and fruit. And that's like almost all I eat.
Read the side.
Not a bad route to take.
So I'm
Yeah.
curious. So you said that so you started the BNI chapter?
So yeah, there's several BNI chapters in the
Right
valley
now,
now.
he
So
started the first one though.
yeah.
He's the
How
granddaddy of
did
them all,
how did that
at least in Cache Valley.
like develop, you know? Like
So right before we moved, I used to live in the Salt Lake area, a town called Centerville,
Okay.
in Davis County. And a neighbor of mine invited me to uh, her BNI chapter, which was one of the best chapters in Utah. And I went to it a couple of times, and then we moved,
Cool.
right?
Okay.
But it kind of planted a
Yes, it
seed,
did. Well, and if you
right?
saw a good one, that's what because ours was like notoriously like amazing, better
Yes,
outperforming everybody's.
yeah.
Mhm.
And so her name was Joan Olson. Joan is fantastic. Uh, an incredible individual. So she was so thoughtful to invite me to her chapter of BNI, and I went a couple times, and I thought this could be,
Hmm.
something uh, to look into. And then we decided to move up to Cache Valley, and I had been in Cache Valley for 2 years, and just thought to myself, I just kept thinking, I should. There's no BNI chapter up here.
Right.
What if we started a BNI chapter,
Right. Right.
right?
Right.
BNI stands for Business Networking International, and it's simply a system for putting a bunch of business owners in a room and referring business to one
Hmm.
another. So it's very
Yeah.
fundamental
Mhm.
and
Basic
basic in its
networking. It's
premise.
basic networking.
It's basic networking, um, and that's what it's all geared towards. But what inevitably ends up happening is you become dear friends
yeah.
with the people in that room, and it's
Yeah.
been
10 years,
yeah, almost 11 now.
almost 11.
Yeah, we started in
Yeah.
2013.
I was 3 months after they
That's right.
started. Not quite three. The third month I showed up, rolled
Yeah.
in on my motorcycle.
Mhm.
So yeah, and that was fun, and that's been a fun experience for me. Um, and had I not started it, someone else would have. I mean, it's easy to start it, but the quality of people that ended up coming,
Were
um,
huge,
yeah,
big time names in the valley.
yeah, it just and just good.
Good
There's a
people.
lot of goodness in that room every Wednesday morning,
Yeah.
and I have personally benefited from that. And you become friends
Hmm.
with these folks. I mean, that's how I met Brian,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And I guess something that I've learned about me from that experience is I really like gathering people.
Hmm.
Like, um, it's fun. I like facilitating connection.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
one of my
Absolutely love it. I think
passions.
we've all learned to love
Yeah,
that. Like
yeah,
BNI taught me that. Like
yeah.
that's I didn't really I mean I understood networking but I didn't until 10 years of BNI like I get networking.
And for me, it's like it's not a means to an end. It's like this is something I love,
Hmm.
right? And so yeah, that's one thing that I've come to appreciate about myself is I really enjoy facilitating gathering and connection.
Hmm. Yep.
That's awesome.
Where I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a magical act too.
It is.
It's like not everyone can do it. I
Yeah. And
oh,
it's one of the reasons I love like singing and performing as well,
mhm.
is that's a way to
Bring
connect.
people. Yeah.
Like if we were to all go to a concert together, we all experience it. I guess it's called experiential intimacy,
Okay.
Is
right?
that what it's called?
Yeah. I never
Yeah,
heard of that
experiential
before.
intimacy where we all now have a we connect over this experience that we've
Yeah.
had, right?
Huh.
Yeah.
And that's why like live performances
Mhm.
are magical,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
right? Music, drama, whatever it is,
I've always wanted to be in a
poetry
play.
reading doesn't
Oh, it's
matter.
so much fun.
It's connecting with other living souls
Mhm.
and feeling the feelings
I,
together,
I've always called
right?
it an energy because
Communally,
it just
yes,
flows,
yep,
and like because the flow is dependent upon the openness to receive and
yes,
give,
I love that. Yep.
and it just mm,
There was a statement, and I can't remember who said it. It used to be on the Pioneer Theater Company website, but it was and I'm gonna slaughter the quote, but it said something to the effect of, um, the for there to be a performance, there must be um, a story, actors, and an audience, and they are all asked to give something.
Mhm.
Right.
mm,
So that goes to your point of when we come, even as audience members, we're being asked to give of ourselves, to be open to the story that's being told up there.
mhm.
Right.
and that kind of stuff.
And by participating is,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah, right,
Oh, I'm
yeah.
sad.
Be open to learning, something from what
Mhm.
these performers are trying to share.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It's
Yeah,
it's literally I guess the only quote that I can think of that can tie it well is along the lines of music. Are you familiar? I think it's unknown quoter, but they said music expresses that which can never be said, but can never be left unspoken.
love that.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm a huge fan of Jelly Roll. Like
Sure, sure, yeah,
Somebody Save Me is just a powerful song, and you feel it coursing, like, as he's singing it, he's just laying raw emotion on the table, and that's what I think is so gravitational about especially that song,
yep.
because you get drawn in and you can relate, but also you can feel the artist's pain as well as their emotions, and there's something beautiful that it
There absolutely is.
I'm a
It
huge
takes a direct route, right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
to the soul, and
Mhm.
that's good music.
Yep,
Yeah.
that is good music.
You know when you feel it, because like, it's that same energy that you
Yeah.
feel when you're on the stage, and it just flows through, and, I I'm hyper focused on that stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
Dude, this is awesome. This has been such a good time. So, one thing I did want to just touch on a little bit.
Yeah.
So, Craig and I don't know, was it 2 years? Last year, we started getting into that book, The Strength to Strength
Oh, sure, sure.
from Arthur Brooks. So that was just one I wanted to touch on because that book was it was a good book. I mean, as I mentioned it to him before we started, he was like, yeah, he goes like, kind of remember the gist of it. Again, you read so many books, it's kind of like but I think that's the purpose of it, isn't it? It's just to take the gist of it
Yes.
and kind of
Yeah.
like apply it to yourself.
Yeah.
And so, do you want to elaborate on that, or do you want me
Oh, for
to?
sure. So, I mean, I'm a fan of Arthur Brooks. He's got a lot of good stuff.
Good couple good podcasts out there too, I think I've
Yeah.
listened to, and
Yeah, he's a frequent podcast guest. He just did a book with Oprah, which I had not read, but I came on to him with one of his previous books, and I think it was called Love Your Enemies.
mm,
And but this one is all about, well, it kind of goes back to the
mentoring. That's why I
mentorship
wanted to bring it in. It's
theme.
kind of to
Yeah,
wrap us back to the mentoring.
that once we
You got
reach a
it.
certain level of experience, um, and age usually comes with that, right? Um, we need to recognize that we are called to play a different role,
Yes.
which is to assist others in rising to a new level. And we do that by sharing our experiences, making ourselves available. It can be formal or informal.
Hmm.
Um, and I feel like I'm starting to lean into that a little bit myself.
Hmm.
Sometimes you wake up and you think, oh wow, I've been doing what I've been doing for 20 years. I guess I have something that I could
Mhm,
share with others that would benefit them,
mhm,
right? And talks about how the energy for the second half of life is going to come from mentoring others,
Yeah,
and I loved that. um so yeah, that's the basic premise
that
of
is the
his
basic premise.
book, which turned me on to some other second half of life is a concept,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
And it isn't necessarily related to age, although it usually is.
Right. Well, I'm trying. It's your intelligence curve. It's all around your intelligence curve as well.
Yeah,
Did
yeah,
you mention that? I don't know if you. I think that because that was one of the things
sure.
as they talk about your crystalline intelligence curve or
Yes,
your what's the
yes,
other one
that's right.
before you have crystalline
um
intelligence? That's
Liquid.
there's the crystal and then fluid.
fluid
Fluid, that's
intelligence.
right,
Right.
that's
Right.
right.
So yeah,
And there's pros and
cons
cons
to
to each of
each.
those, right?
Yeah.
But second half of life is a concept that I'm kind of geeking out about
Mhm.
these days. And it's just this idea that there are certain things that it is our job to unlearn, right? Um, yeah, go ahead.
No, no, I
Okay.
was just
It
agreeing
was,
with you
Yeah.
100% on
yeah,
that.
there are certain things that it is our job to unlearn so that we can continue to grow. And it all comes down to this idea of differentiation,
Gotcha.
right?
Yeah.
We we have two fundamental desires or needs, right? One is to belong to a group, a community of some kind. But we also have a desire to belong to ourselves. And that is a tension that will never resolve. It just is what it is. And part of differentiation, part of leaning into second half of life principles is to move more towards belonging to yourself.
Mm.
Oh yeah,
That doesn't mean that you leave your community. I mean, it doesn't mean becoming
a
a
hermit.
sociopath who
Mhm.
doesn't care about the community. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with kind of all of these things that we believe are part of ourselves, kind of separating from them, putting them on the table and asking ourselves, is this or that still working for me?
Right.
Mhm.
Right. Um, the paradigms that were given to me, sometimes maybe even foisted upon me, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Without my permission. And I didn't know that that's what was going on.
Mhm.
Do these still work for me? Is there goodness here?
Mhm.
We have to start asking questions that might be uncomfortable asking ourselves so that we can reorient. It isn't about leaving our tribes forever
Right.
and being these isolated islands of humanity. It's about coming back to our tribes as independent people and contributing,
Hmm.
Mhm.
right,
Absolutely.
in ways that are good and that strengthen the group. And that's something that I think is the second half of life. It's that process
Absolutely.
of asking ourselves what works, what doesn't, what's good, what's not.
Yeah.
How do I reorient? What do I let go of? What do I
Yeah. What
right?
what things are not
Yeah.
making me happy?
What do I embrace?
Hmm.
Mhm.
What do I move towards?
Oh, absolutely.
Uh,
And
Like
every
the book "Who Took My Cheese,"
uh-huh.
but also one of my favorite quotes from Jordan Peterson is uh, "Don't hide things in the fog." Right? There's places that we're uncomfortable, and there's places that we don't want to go. And he references the story of King Arthur and the Round Table, and when they were told to go find the Holy Grail, right? Each of them looked at the forest and looked for the places that was darkest to them, and they started walking towards it, because where do you go to find the thing that you desire the most, or the thing that you need the most? Well, you go to the place that you don't want to look.
Sure. There's another book that was really a hard read because it's very challenging, but
Mhm.
it's called "Living an Examined Life"
Oh,
by James Hollis,
living in exam.
and he is a Jungian psychoanalyst.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Jung is, you know,
Yeah. Jung is a.
he gets into acknowledging that we all have a dark side
Mhm.
Sure.
and that it has something to teach us,
It
Yes.
right?
does. Sure.
Oh.
So that book by Hollis is fantastic. I
Mhm.
highly recommend it,
Cool.
just to get a basic understanding of what our job is for the second half of life, if we want to,
Right.
right? We don't have to go
Well,
there.
it's something that I was just thinking of is that, like, I mean, a lot of guys maybe at that time go through what we have commonly heard of as the midlife crisis.
Sure.
So I think if you instead analyze where you're going and figure this out, I think you can avoid that
Yeah,
in a way,
absolutely.
because now you're no longer like, well, crap, what do I do? I better go start working out and buy a convertible. I don't, whatever the
Yeah,
typical
all the
the
things, right?
things. Right, right, right. So, but instead, if you actually start thinking, because that so Craig and I kind of started this journey a little bit together as we
Yeah.
talk about things, and we would be open with each other and vulnerable, and sitting up here having breakfast and stuff and like um we talked about those things, so we've both kind of been on this journey of farting, and that's part of why we're doing a podcast,
Mhm.
right? Is like the
Yes.
difference is giving something back. And if you think about it, like right now we're small, but as we get bigger, all of these people who I want to help their business grow, well, we're going to be able to give them a bunch of coverage. Like I am coming back with something value. It's kind of cool to hear you put
Abs-
the words to it, because this is what I came up with.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'm 48, and I just turned 48. I'm closer to 50 than 40,
Mhm.
and it's it's just things are different now,
Very much
and
so.
and to be able to adjust to that is a gift. I carry a card around once in a while if I remember it, right? But on that card it says self confront, self-regulate, self-validate.
Yep.
Hey.
I
And
like
that
that.
that's part of this. That's part of this differentiation idea. When self-confronting. When we have the courage to confront ourselves in the presence of the people that we love,
Mhm.
life changes
Mm.
because all of a sudden we are showing up differently, and we are allowing the people we love to see us differently when we aren't so defensive about our flaws, our faults, the times when we just totally screw up.
Mhm.
Um, that gives other people the courage to do the same, and relationships change.
I love it.
Self validation. It's We go through our lives again because we have this need to belong to a group,
Mhm.
right? We have this desire to be validated by that group. And sometimes we put things on the altar that we should
Mm.
in order to get that validation.
Right.
Mm.
And part of unlearning that, part of differentiation is unlearning that and coming to trust ourselves a little more and validating ourselves. And here's the cool part: the less validation we need from other people, the more we get from
Mhm.
other people
Right.
because we aren't showing up in this needy state,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Right. And we aren't putting pressure on them to, do or say or be something so that we can feel okay,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We're
Wow.
giving
Self-sustaining.
we're giving them freedom. We're liberating them as well.
Right. Which
And then
comes
of
back
course,
to what I do fix myself helps me fix
yes,
myself
yes.
first.
And then self-regulation is simply that's me reminding myself that whenever I lose my head, or show up in anger, um, I'm essentially asking someone else to regulate me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in that moment, it's
Dang it.
anger is
Yeah.
one thing, right?
Mhm.
But manifesting it with outrage, or you know that's where I'm showing up as a child,
Yeah.
right? And I'm asking someone else, I need you to fix this so that I can feel okay. And that's where, and I'm still working on all of these
Sure.
things.
We are
It
going to.
depends on the day. Some days I'm still a child,
Yep.
right?
Aren't
And
we
the
all?
goal is to simply spend more of my time in differentiation, right? That's the goal. It's not to be perfect.
Yep.
That'll screw you up if you try
Well,
to.
yeah, I'm still I always go back to the fifth agreement, right? What is it? The third agreement is do your best every day. And if your best is just to get out of bed and move to the couch,
Mhm.
then that's great. Good job. And if your best is to be up at 4:30 and do your workout and eat your protein and go on your walk, and well, cool, even better.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm when I don't have to, focus on work or other things. I'm just trying to spend more time in this space of what is growth,
Mhm.
Mhm.
what is goodness,
Mm.
what is beauty, and putting that up against what are the paradigms
Mhm.
Mhm.
that I have carried, whether I picked them up myself or they were given to me, and how do I sift through all of this stuff
Right.
and come to a place of consistency, steadiness, love, openness.
Yeah.
And that's kind of
Yeah.
the task, I think.
That's the task.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That is awesome.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Okay, you guys, that is our time for today. So we have taken away from this that it is best to work on yourself. It is best to work on yourself. Read some books. This is awesome, Craig. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for coming with
Thanks
us.
for having me. It's so
Yeah.
nice meeting you
Thank
I
you
guys.
told
for
you it just
coming.
goes by.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, it's like, oh man, the podcast is over. We got to quit. So, like I've said to most of my friends, we'd love to have you back on another time.
Thank
So
you.
we'll do the
Appreciate that.
rotation several
Sweet.
months down the road and or a year, I don't know, whatever. But we'll definitely get you back on. We'll dig deeper into some of this stuff. And you guys, thank you for joining us. If you haven't already, now is the time to like and subscribe, leave a comment, share your personal journey, and we'd love to talk about it on the show the next time. So thanks again for joining us.